It's your boy Gamer Kioske, Legion Knicks, back at you with another one. Here to talk about the 2021-2022 season, give you a little preview, talk about the starters, the bench, the rookies, as well as some of the G League guys. And then in this episode, we'll be talking about Julius Randle, can't handle the Randle. But before we get started, make sure to hit the like, subscribe to the channel, make sure to hit the dark notification bell to get each and every notification for each and every video I put out. Make sure to leave a comment at the end of the video. Let me know what you think about the video, the analysis, the comparisons, everything. Let me know what you guys think. I am here to take all the smoke, as well as all the comments, anything that you have to say about the video, about the channel. But in this episode, like I said, we'll be covering can't handle Randle, Julius Randle, aka Mr. Most Improved Player of the Year last year, aka Mr. Second All-NBA Team, aka Mr. All-Star, the guy that even I didn't think would be able to elevate his game to such and surprise a lot of us last year with his play, led this team to a playoff berth, something we haven't seen in years. Julius Randle deserves all the accolades. However, with all the talent added to this team, Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, returning RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson coming back from injury, as well as Derrick Rose coming back on the bench, and even some of the rookies who may contribute this season, obviously Quentin Grimes and McBride. How will Julius Randle fare this season? Can he come back this season playing the same way he did last year, despite putting up 24 points and 10 rebounds a game, about 6 assists? I'm not sure with the same amount of usage or even more in the same way he played last year that he'd be able to elevate this team like he did. So I think that he may have to change his game a little bit, and he may have to model it after a certain Hall of Famer, somebody that we've all come to love and then hate later on. And this will be where Julius Randle has to marry both his mental prime and his physical prime to elevate not only his game so he can be mentioned with the likes of the Jokic's and the Embiid's or the elite big men of the league, but also elevate the Knicks to the next level where we're in the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly smelling the finals. So let's get to it. As I said before, Julius Randle had a great season last year, averaging 24 points, 10.2 rebounds, 6 assists on 45.6% shooting, 41.1% from the three-point line, and 81.1% from the stripe. But I think for the next step, Julius Randle needs to take that Kevin Garnett approach to his game. Not necessarily because he's getting older, but one where he commits more to dirty work on both ends of the court, picks his spots better on the floor to accommodate the talent around him, and be able to read the game within the game versus simply attacking the game by working harder. Randle's impact last season was immense, as he was the offensive anchor with regards to scoring and playmaking, dragging along an offense that ranked 26th in scoring. Part of that transformation came from him diversifying his spots on the floor versus simply playing the majority of them on the inside or near the foul line like he's done in previous seasons, dropping his takes from around the rim from 36% to 16.2 last year. Becoming a better outside shooter is another major reason why, but a large chunk of that development came from better understanding his game and honing his skills each and every day, shooting 1,000 shots a day in the gym, and also becoming a student game by reviewing and studying film. So Julius Randle at least has the capacity and mental acuity to understand the flaws and the holes in his game and try to elevate them to the next level for this upcoming season. So how do we get an optimal Julius Randle? Now, it's not going to come from more usage given all the talent that we brought on the team. It's most likely going to come from him being more efficient and smarter with less usage, less touches. He's going to have to pick his spots better on the floor, understand who has a hot hand, set up the offenses, which he did many times last year. I'm not taking any credit away from him. But again, Julius Randle's mental prime is going to have to meet his physical prime this season, especially with guys like Evan Fournier, who's yet Kemba Walker, guy with the knee issues, going to probably have to play on such and such days or less minutes or play in different positions. And so Julius Randle is going to have to become a lot smarter as a facilitator, as a playmaker for this team, and is going to possibly come with less touches. But before we get to some of the ways I think that Julius Randle can improve with lesser usage or be more impactful with lesser usage, let's talk about some of his strengths. Now, obviously, the post-up game last year was a major go-to weapon for us, a place where Julius Randle could play make. He took about 80% of the team's post-up possessions, and he was fairly solid from that area, be able to kick it out to the guys on the perimeter. His preferred Reggie Bullock, RJ Barrett, who became a really good catch-and-shoot player last year, kick it out to or pass to the guy cutting through the lane once the double team comes and shows the trap, or essentially finish with the mid-range shot. He loved turning to the baseline, hitting that sideline or that baseline shot, or finishing with his left going to the basket, bullying defender. And so Julius Randle, I think that even though he might see lesser usage from that post-up, given that we have some weapons and Tom Thibodeau can expand the offense, it's still going to be a staple and a foundation for the offense because it's taking our best player on the team and utilizing something that, he was extremely, I would say proficient, but very solid at doing last year. So another area I'd like to see Julius Randle improving is that pick and roll. Now, granted, last year he actually graded out fairly decently as a roll man for our offense. He averaged about, I think, 9% of his possessions were in the pick and roll as a roll man. I'd like to see him be a little bit more physical. Get to actually roll to the basket. Too many times he picked and popped, and granted, it was to solid effect, but I'd like to see him be a little bit more physical, a little bit more within the offense and punishing teams and defenders who were there at the paint and trying to meet him in his physicality. Now, last year, his free throw draw rate was about like 32.5%. The year before, it was 35%, but in New Orleans, he was about like 44.7%. And the pick and roll in New Orleans was a lot more effective. Even after AD went down, he ran that pick and roll with Jrue Holiday to, I won't say perfection, but he graded out really well as a pick and roll artist down in New Orleans. So I'd like to see him be a little bit more physical, get defenders in trouble, get us to the foul line, be able to control the tempo with his physicality off the screens, and then he would have other options. And in this new offense that we have with these new players, or not saying new offense, but the new talent that's coming in, he'll have guys who'll be able to flash at the wing or be there in the corner for the pass. And so we at least have at least 3 options on the floor every time he's rolling to the basket. Even if he gets stuck, he can kick it out to one of our shooters, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Kemba Walker, who are all really good catch and shoot scorers, and even IQ and rows off the bench, Alec Burks as well too. And to that point, we have 4 to 6 guys who can all run the pick and roll with Julius Randle. Not just being spot up shooters off that roll, but they can run that pick and roll with Julius Randle. RJ Barrett, even though he was fairly average last year, but got a lot better from his rookie year with Fizdale. You also have Kemba Walker, who's excellent at pick and roll. And because of his knee injury, we need a set of offenses that allows Kemba Walker a little bit more space or creates more space for him, so he's not, banging down low with defenders. And because of that knee, he's not going to be able to take guys off the dribble as much. His isolation numbers were not good last year. You saw it, the lack of explosiveness, especially in the playoffs, he suffered. So we need to create a little bit more space for Kemba Walker, who off of these screens, he's still very effective. He still has that lateral shiftiness to cause defenders trouble and take the shot, draw some contact, even though his free throw draw rate was low as well too last year. But again, we have to create those opportunities for Kemba Walker. Evan Fournier is a really good pick and roll artist. I think he ranked in the 77th percentile last year. Again, he's a very capable scorer. Derrick Rose ran that pick and roll really well with Randle last year. Alec Burks, who's very adept at it, especially we saw him in some of these late games or late quarters last year. And even IQ. I know people want to kill IQ and say, oh, he's not going to pass, but I have faith in IQ, given what I saw in the summer league, given what he's been working on, that his court awareness can improve drastically, or will improve drastically this season with a lot more talent around him, tutelage, and obviously a guy like Randle rolling to the basket with him, whatever sets in the middle quarters or in the end of games, could be a really deadly combination. So I need to see Julius Randle be a lot more physical, rolling to the basket, causing havoc and chaos for these defenses. So one aspect I want to talk about that it's a strength, and I think people may have some concerns with, I think there's some excuses behind his passing, his facilitation. I talked about it earlier regarding his post-up game, but I think that Julius Randle, as a century for this team who make the right passes, I think that's going to be a big plus. Now, last year, he didn't have much talent around him, and he improved. His assists went up, his potential assists went up, his secondary assists went up, and you saw the decision-making by Julius Randle was a lot better. The year prior to that, he was struggling with double teams and would wait too late, or he would, post up at the foul line and then draw into double teams and just try to make these ugly passes. It just was terrible. I think with Tom Thibodeau's guidance and obviously better players around him, Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker, RJ Barrett, all capable catch and shoot guys, Alec Burks from off the bench, IQ as well too, all solid catch and shoot scorers. I think that Julius Randle's game, I think his facilitation, I think that ratio of 6 assists to I think it was like 3 or 3.4 turnovers is definitely going to improve with more talent around him. Having Alpha Payne last year, he was just the bizarro Darrell Rivas. You just could not pass to that side of the court. And you had other inconsistent guys like Austin Rivers that if we weren't playing, who was at the Jazz, he was not going to score. So I think that this season with more talent around Julius Randle, you're going to see him be a plus multiplier. I think that his facilitation, his decision-making, his playmaking is definitely going to shine this season. Another move that I'd love to see Julius Randle utilize more next season would be the dribble handoff. There's something that he and Reggie Bullock, I won't say perfected, but ran fairly well in the second half last season, where Bullock would run baseline or play a give and go at Randle near the wing or the top of the key to shake off the defender, get the ball back for the shot, as Randle would set a kind of Bam Adebayo screen on the defender Although Fournier isn't the shooter that Duncan Robinson is, I love to see Randle more involved in these handoffs with a shooter like Fournier, where the Knicks can exploit over aggressive defenses that might overplay a Fournier and allow Randle to roll to the basket after the pass of Fournier, or simply just exploit Fournier's shooting ability once Randle makes that handoff and sets the screen. Fournier, by the way, ranked really well on dribble handoffs, going 57.9% from the field and ranking in the 96th percentile. So Randle's versatility on the ball should improve drastically, even if it doesn't show up in the numbers, where we have that type of combination with a capable shooter in Fournier. Another way I like to see Julius Randle to be more impactful without the ball in his hands or with lesser possessions per se. I like to see Julius Randle attack the offensive rebounding a little bit more. He had the same amount of offensive rebounds as Drew Holiday last year and less than Willie Herman Gomez. And I understand the amount of energy he had to put on the offensive end last year, but this year, even with Mitchell Robinson back, for a team that ranked 16 in the league last year in offensive rebounds, I need to see Julius Randle be a little bit more aggressive on the offensive boards. Last year, after Mitchell Robinson went down, our team suffered regarding putback points per play, putback points per miss. We were just not as active on the offensive rebounding end. And when you look at some of the top teams with offensive rebounding, take out teams like, say, the Pelicans, a lot of those top teams that were proficient regarding second chance points were well within the playoffs. And you see it. Some of these guys are also in the finals as well, too. And scheme-wise with Randle, we still should be able to see some of the things that he was fairly strong at last year. Obviously, Tom Thibodeau's going to run horns. That's just one of his babies. But having Julius Randle pop out from the pinch, go out to the three-point line, top of the key, where he shot 37.7% from the top of the key regarding all his threes, or all threes from the top of the key. Randle should, again, have those triple threat options: shoot the three, pass out, drive to the basket, drive to the foul line, shoot the little mid-range shot. That should definitely still be a go-to or staple for us next season. Now that we have Kemba Walker, Fournier, and a budding playmaker in RJ Barrett, we can have an offense away from Julius Randle, where Julius Randle could set up as a spot-up shooter, where he fared out fairly well, especially from the corners. Shot above average from both the corners last season. The left corner, if you're facing away from the basket, was his better corner. And as a catch-and-shoot player, he generated 1.188 points per possession last season. So again, Julius Randle can be dangerous without us being so Randle-centric with the ball in his hands. I would like to see Tom Thibodeau utilize a little more triangle. And again, it's not the Phil Jackson triangle that we all have grown accustomed to hating, but more of a fluid, weak side, strong side game, where we're going to use Fournier, like I said, on these dribble handoffs like we did with Bullock. So you might as well run a little bit more triangle. We could kind of push the so-called mental acuity of this team a little bit to run those plays. I would love to see Julius Randle on that weak side, where him and Kemba, him and Fournier, him and RJ have that two-man game going. Obviously on the strong side, you can move guys around from that corner spot to flash through the middle. And again, I'm not saying it's going to look like the 2000 or the mid-2000s Bulls with Boozer, Luol Deng, and Jimmy Butler and those guys, but I think that Randle playing a little bit more on the weak side, the pinch post action, and again, it'll be with the ball in his hands, but it'll leave defenses a little bit unsure of the offenses that we could run with Julius Randle. Julius Randle is basically like a queen on a chessboard. And it's best to leave him as unpredictable as possible, unlike what we did against the Hawks in the playoffs. Now, let's get to the defensive side regarding Julius Randle. Now, Julius Randle last year actually ranked out fairly well in man defense, especially with any attempts or shots taken around the paint. Now, one area I'd like to see Julius Randle improve on, and it's not the biggest of deficiencies, is his defensive rebounding. Yes, he averaged about 10 rebounds last year. He was 5th in the league in defensive rebounds. And regarding contested rebounds, he was still in the top 20, I think about 17th or so. But I would like Julius Randle to improve on his defensive rebounding in traffic. I would like to see that contested rebounds go up, and it has improved compared to the year before. But I'd still like to see Julius Randle get himself a little bit more dirty, pull himself in the paint. And obviously, last year, he was the end-all be-all on offense, so he's probably conserving some energy. But if he has a ball a little bit less in his hands this season, with less usage given the weapons that we have, I'd like to see him get a little bit more dirty. Obviously, the Knicks were one of the best teams regarding our defense, but I'd like to see Julius Randle stop other teams from getting second chance points, impose his will. I want him to play a little bit more bully ball on defense, and he should not be averaging less contested rebounds than guys like Kristaps Porzingis and Karl Anthony Towns. I understand they're probably down low a little more, especially Karl Anthony Towns, but those guys aren't tough to me. They're not tougher than Julius Randle. So this season, with less usage, I would like to see Julius Randle get a little bit more dirty on the boards. Another place is a pick and roll, where Julius Randle did not grade out too well in the pick and roll. You saw it many times in the pick and rolls against the roll man. Julius Randle was unsure of where he was supposed to be. His footwork was bad at times. Sometimes he was too over aggressive in stepping. Sometimes he wasn't. So again, situational awareness, knowing where you're supposed to be, knowing exactly when the roll is happening, be able to guard your man a little bit better. Because there may be times that we're going to be playing small ball, and we need Julius Randle to play against some of these elite centers or so-called big men in the league who will run the pick and roll on us religiously. There'll be times, God forbid, where some of our guys are injured. Mitchell Robinson as well may be out or nicked up, and we're going to need Julius Randle to play the big man defensively for long stretches. So I need Julius Randle against the pick and roll where we get seeing these elite teams going to be running against us, like Trey Young's out there. We have to have Julius Randle a lot better on the pick and rolls. So let me talk a little bit about the Kevin Garnett comparison and how Julius Randle should model his game after he moved to Boston Celtics, where they won a championship in that 08 season, where Kevin Garnett, not necessarily because he was getting older, but because he was playing with such superlative talents and was looking to win, kind of dipped his game, pulled it back a little bit to accommodate for the talent that was around him, make guys around him better do the dirty work, to maximize shooters like Ray Allen, get it to Paul Pierce at the right time, and let Rajon Rondo essentially set up the offenses. And one more thing regarding Kevin Garnett and his impact. Yes, his stats went down compared to his great years in Minnesota, and he was getting older, but you could have argued, you could have forced the offense to go through Kevin Garnett since he was arguably the best player on that team, but that was not the case. He bought into what Doc Rivers was trying to do. He allowed Rondo to set up the offenses. He got the ball to Ray Allen, those dribble handoffs and those dirty screens he set on a lot of teams. He also got to Paul Pierce when Paul Pierce was hot, right? Understanding Paul Pierce likes to go ISO. Paul Pierce was a closer, loves that little foul line, pinch post play, ISO play. And so that was Kevin Garnett's understanding the game within the game, that the game or winning was a lot bigger than him. And that's a step I want Julius Randle to take. Julius Randle put up great numbers last year, but again, we were one of the worst offenses, and we ultimately lost to a Hawks team that I felt that obviously with a little more pieces around us, a better point guard play, more consistency from RJ Barrett, better ability from the wing position, obviously we win. But Julius Randle looked, all that ISO play or all that great individual play saw from the regular season didn't translate into the playoffs because Julius Randle, no offense to him, he's not that type of player, at least not yet. So Julius Randle, now we have a lot more talent, and he can't play the same way he did last year. He has to find a way to be more impactful without the ball in his hands, or without the ball in his hands as much as it was last year. So we will definitely see. But guys, let me know what you guys think about this video. Am I wrong with comparing Julius Randle to Kevin Garnett in terms of how I think his growth should go, how he should mature his game? Let me know what you guys think. Please leave your comments down below. Hit the likes before you leave. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is Legion of Knicks, your boy Game of Kids, and I'll see you next time. Peace, Lou. God bless.